Thank you so much, Chief Michael Banks, for joining us today. I wanted to talk to you about this first, essentially what's been, a month of the border under a new administration, under the Trump administration. This is a huge contrast that we're seeing. We're seeing historic lows in illegal crossings. Even what we had experienced down riding along with Border Patrol in the El Paso sector recently is for the first time, Border Patrol agents outnumbering illegal migrants who are crossing right now, and the consequences are much higher. Could you tell us about what you attribute the really historic lows at the border right now? I mean, it sounds like February is on pace for being a month that we just haven't seen in at least, 25 years. Why is that?
So first I would put in contrast, at the rate we're going right now, February, we will see a month lower than some of our daily averages, just in Texas alone back in the day. But going back to your question, I attribute it to consequences, right? If you enforce the law and provide a consequence for action, you see results, right? And so ending CBP 1, that was huge. As we know, CBP 1 was a real magnet that drew traffic to the border. And then when they couldn't get processed through CBP 1, they would just cross illegally between the ports of entry. Also, the consequences that we're providing, we've ended catch and release, returning migrants back home, right? And so why make that journey if you know that you're going to be put through all that risk, all that turmoil, all the rapes, the robberies, everything else that's part of that mass migration, just to be caught and turned around. So if you look at the probability of being detected, apprehended, and returned to your country, it just makes no sense to try to make that voyage. When you're talking about the threat, what we have to understand is the cartel has been allowed to grow and run amok and pretty much control the border for the last 4 years. And so they're not too fond of the idea that they're losing control of that and that we're gaining it back more and more every day. It's just like with any type of law enforcement agency, the harder you push, right, the more you're going to get pushback from the opposition. And so we're prepared for that. We are making sure we're equipping our agents. We're getting assistance from DOD to deal with those issues as well. Everything from up armored vehicles to ensuring our agents have the proper officer safety equipment. And so we're not going to back off because the cartel doesn't like the fact that we're controlling our border. We will get operational control of our border, and we'll use all available resources, including what DOD is bringing to the table, to ensure we get that control.
Let's go back to some of the issues under the Biden administration. One of the biggest things that we saw was just a failed vetting procedure that Border Patrol had in place. We saw the ushering in of groups like Tren de Aragua, of cartel members, of known or suspected terrorists. What's being done now to enhance those vetting procedures? And in light of Venezuela now accepting deportations again, are they also sharing information with the United States on their own citizens?
And so Venezuela has been cooperating with us. And again, we've gotten to the point where they're accepting back their citizens, and we are getting information from them on some of their nationals. I think one of the things that I really like to highlight is that in since the day President Trump took office, and then since the day I've become the chief of the Border Patrol, the U.S. Border Patrol has released 2 people from custody. Both of those people were witnesses. They were fully vetted, and they were given a temporary status because it was a benefit to the government and the safety of the United States because they're witnesses in criminal cases. With the exception of those 2, the United States Border Patrol is not going to release anyone. We're going to process them appropriately. We're either going to get them to ICE or we're going to get them on a flight back to their country, depending on what they're amenable to. You have to remember, we talk about the Biden administration having a failed border security process or plan. The Biden administration didn't have a failed Border Patrol plan. They intentionally built a plan that created the chaos and the insecurity at the border. That was planned. That wasn't a failed plan. And so we're going to continue to go back and do what we know how to do, which is defend the border, secure the border, and remove those who have come here illegally. It really isn't rocket science. It is trust in the agents, give them the equipment, give them the technology, give them the resources they need to get the job done. And look what we've done in such a short period of time.
You talked a little bit about resources before. One of the things that it sounds like is plentiful right now is space to hold people because border numbers are so low. Have there been any discussions about maybe repurposing the processing centers or using them to help ICE, ERO, or other agencies right now?
Correct. And so the previous administration spent a lot of money on building temporary facilities, also on the capability to move mass migrants around the country. We're repurposing that for enforcement. So anywhere where the previous administration was spending money to assist and accommodate and to enhance mass illegal immigration, we're taking that and we're moving that to enforcement efforts, right? And getting us the equipment and the resources that we need for the agents to do the job. When it comes to space, we're offering up our space to ICE because if you look at the numbers, ICE, and I'm going to be very careful because I don't like to discuss ICE numbers, but because it's a different agency. But if you look at their numbers, they're apprehending more people at the border than we are having come in, right? And so that's great, right? I mean, that's our job. United States Border Patrol, we're going to hold the line. We're going to protect the border. And as long as we can keep those numbers down and keep driving them, and be very clear, we're not done. We're just getting started, right? The United States Border Patrol is just getting started. We will not accept anything other than complete operational control of our border. We're preventing that cup, if you will, from overflowing. So as ICE is making those arrests in the interior and reducing the number of illegals that are in our country, we're ensuring that that cup doesn't refill. So that's our piece of that process. And so we don't have any desire to continue holding on and spending money on temporary detention facilities. Our intent is to offer that up to ICE. If ICE has a need for that, they can take that and move forward with it. If they don't, then we will get out of the temporary detention space business.